heard you talk a little bit about NFTs and the fact that anyone in the world can buy an NFT. So a couple of things for anyone who doesn't know what an NFT is. 101 is, what is it? Where can you buy it? And then I want to ask you a little bit about the whole premise of scarcity with NFTs. But before we get to that, just, where can people get NFTs and, how do people actually buy them?
Yeah, so NFTs essentially are, my wife is coming in here bothering the shit out of me. No, I'm joking.
Bachelor fan, right?
My wife is a Bachelor fan for sure.
There we go. Love to hear
she'll tell you the entire history of the show for the last 20 years. No, listen, NFTs basically are, digital assets. And so if you think of many things in the world that are scarce, intellectual property, or all kinds of different goods, it's been really hard to do that in the digital world, right? So if I said to you, hey, I have this image and I'm going to take the image, I'm going to put it on a t-shirt. Okay, I can stop the t-shirt from having more than, let's say, 100 that I create. I say, okay, now I'm going to take that image, I'm going to put it on a poster. I can only print 100 posters, and now I can make sure that there's only 100 in the world. But when I put it as a digital asset, when I move it to a computer file, now all of a sudden you can screenshot it, you can take it, you can do all these different things. And so what ends up happening with an NFT is just the ability to make sure that you have the story, who created it when, and who's owned it along the way, right? Kind of the provenance of it. Mm-hmm. But you could think of it kind of like a serial number, right? And I always joke that like the Eiffel Tower is the best example. The only Eiffel Tower in the world that's actually valuable is the first one. And we all know where that one is, right? It's in Paris, France, and we know exactly kind of what the specifications are. If I built the exact same Eiffel Tower, the same specifications, and I put it somewhere else in the world, people would just be like, dude, that's a fake one. That's not the real one.
Look at the Paris and Vegas. No one gives a shit.
Exactly. And so I think that what an NFT basically does is it allows for these serial numbers. Eiffel Tower 001 is the valuable one. Same thing here is if you see all these images online, all of a sudden now knowing that is this the first one, the fifth one, or the 20th one becomes really important. And so what we're about to watch is when new technology gets created, all of these people are going to figure out really interesting ways to do this. I've been playing a lot in the digital art space for about a year now. And my whole thought process is just physical art is going to get disrupted by digital art, right? Why do we hang static images on our walls? Why don't we put screens on the wall, and then the screens are going to change with various pieces of art over time, right? And whether that's every hour, changes by the season, has motion, sound, whatever it is, that's kind of one of the thesis. And so you're watching some of the world's best artists start to create digital art. And I think that NFTs, frankly, are just getting started, which makes it pretty exciting.
And then quick follow-up is where if someone's like, wow, that sounds badass. What is the process of actually buying an NFT? Where do people go?
I'm not going to say any of the platform names because everyone gets all mad when I mention a platform and I forget theirs. It's like picking between your children. But what I will say is if you simply just search on Google digital art or NFTs, I'll let whoever wants to bid the highest on SEO to win that war. But a lot of the platforms, I mean, it's like anything, right? If you want to go buy something on Amazon, right, you basically sign up for an account, you click on it, and you can purchase it. It's a little bit more complex on some of these platforms, but for the most part, it's a similar experience. You just create an account, you fund it, and then you can go ahead and purchase digital art or NFTs.
Good stuff. Okay, so here's my take on it. I think just like art, anybody could be an artist. Anybody can make this painting I'm looking at the wall that probably sold for $5, or there could be the one Mona Lisa. So you look at scarcity, obviously supply is unlimited, but it's just the value of the perceived value of the artist, the story, and everything, just like any piece of art. Where I'm kind of losing touch with NFTs, and I want your take on this, is the whole idea of like, obviously the NBA being very involved with intellectual property and capturing it. I grew up, I'm good buddies with Rob Gronkowski, right? So he was one of the first, him and Patrick Mahomes are the first people to like sell their moments. He sold a few Super Bowl catches. My take on this is that how many catches does Rob have? How many catches does every wide receiver have? How many 3-pointers have been made? How many dunks have been made? Like at what point does the supply become so great within that space that it's just like, okay, cool, you own this one dunk one time, there's been a million of them? What's your take or retort to that?
I think that I could easily take a picture of the Mona Lisa and hang it up in my wall, but I'm not going to go sell it for 45, $50 million because everyone knows it's a replica. And so, sure, you can screenshot it, you can have personal enjoyment, but you're still not going to trick anyone into thinking that that's the original. And so, just like with many things, you can go buy a designer bag on the streets of New York City in Chinatown, but that doesn't mean that that Burka bag or whatever is an original. Doesn't mean that you can sell it for top dollar. And so there's knockoffs, there's counterfeits of all kinds of super scarce valuable assets. But as we know, the originals are the ones that actually accrue all the value, and people create systems and processes to make sure that only the originals are the ones that have the value.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I just still think if there's, they're all the originals of every wide receiver catching a football and a touchdown, does it get like, okay, there's 15,000 legitimate, actually you have the IP, it's yours. Does that get a little old? I guess we'll see. One thing I heard you saw.
And I think that it's a great question because, what ends up happening is like, why is it important? Well, sure. A lot of people just say like, why is an NFL catch in general important? It may not be, but it may be important to you, right? And so like I always say like, what happens if a father takes his son to a football game and somebody has the game-winning touchdown? And it's just a regular season game though. It's not a big deal. But what would that father pay to have that specific highlight, own that highlight? Or maybe it's a running back he ran out of bounds. It was just a random play, but that's the play where the running back ran over to the stands and handed the football to his son. Right? That play would have incredible meaning for that one person. And so I think that like we forget that in auction type environments or free markets, it's not always everyone has to agree on the value. It's just, what does one person think the value is, right? It's kind of like, it's worth whatever one person's willing to pay for it. And I think that that's what's really exciting to me is like, that's what we're going to see kind of play out here is people are going to take intellectual property. They're going to put it out into the free market. And we're going to find out what is the stuff really worth.